What's up, guys? It's your girl Stacey Keke, your host for What's Hot, and today I'm here to share why I Love Boosters is actually a masterpiece. I'm going to do a breakdown of several points, just sharing my view. And when I first went to see this film, the first word that came to mind was bizarre. Let's get into my opinion. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment if you like this type of content, and let's get into it. Make sure you guys friend me on Letterboxd because I have been using this app to save time and to keep all my notes about the movies I watched and what my thoughts were all in one place. It has been a lifesaver when it's come to me creating content recently, and I would love to have more friends on there because I don't have many. So with that being said, let's get into why I Love Boosters is a masterpiece for me, and I'm going to kick it off with just some notes about the messaging in the film. So, this film inspires unity and revolution using comedy and weird symbolism. And I think it does this with the teleportation devices, using those as not only tools to bring along the storyline, but also as a tool and a method to unite minorities in coming together for a common cause. And I just think that was such a unique way to do it. Like, what is going to bring these people together to make them realize they have something in common, even when it doesn't look like it at first? And this device that was actually created by the government to further oppress a certain group is the same device that brings them together. And I think, even I just got another like gem out of that, like the devices of the government used to divide the community. But in turn, it actually, ironically, it actually brings them together. And that's kind of like what I'm saying is encouraging like revolution and inspiring unity. And it's kind of showing us we all have more in common than what we think. And unfortunately, a lot of it is we have a common oppressor. And next, I think they use the industry plants. It's a very serious conspiracy and allegation that people often talk about. But in this film, they are portrayed, once they remove their suits, their skins, they are portrayed in a very like animated, cartoonish way. And that method is kind of, or that style is kind of used all throughout the film. But I thought it was particularly interesting that they used it for the person placed by a certain industry to shape society in a way that's more favorable for often oppressors or corrupt systems. So in this film, we get to see these kind of industry plants in a just naked way almost, where they aren't anything without the skin that the corrupt system has gave them. They are literally fighting for this. They don't have an identity, much so outside of what they've been given. And once they lose that role, that kind of suit, they don't know what to do, and they're angry and they're retaliating and they're causing all kinds of chaos with or without the suit, essentially. But order is lost. And I think that was just interesting that they portrayed them so artistically. And it kind of reminded me of the art style of one of those like, do y'all remember Adult Swim on Cartoon Network? It was like one of those shows on Adult Swim had a similar like artistic style as they used for the industry plants in I Love Boosters. So I just thought that was a very interesting choice, and it kind of drove home more the message that these industry plants are fake and we need to work together to kind of expose their tactics in their goal to divide us or portray our communities in a certain way. That was T. The next symbol that I want to kind of point out about how they drove home the message of unity and revolution is the ball of worries shrinking as Corvette kind of found her impact and place and role in her community and amongst her peers. We got to see this ball of I call it the ball of worries, eviction notices, all the things that's like chasing her. We get to see it visualized as this gigantic ball of just like papers and random objects, but you can tell it's kind of plaguing her and it's something that she's running from. She's trying to like find better for herself, and it just seems so scary and large and such a it's like a looming pressure. But we get to see by the end of the film that once she has found, kind of made a change, made an impact, and kind of resolved issues within herself, and took down, like united with her community to take down someone who hurt her, she's those issues don't aren't as big anymore. It's something you can overlook, but once you get it, it's really something that puts things in perspective, that life is just much easier when you have someone to do it with, and when you don't feel alone, and when you realize you aren't alone. There are people around us going through the same things we are, and we just have to find the right people that we can survive those things with, work through our issues with, and trust. This film reveals a system of interclass corruption using the fashion industry as an example. And so, what do I mean by this? We have, like, obviously, boosters are thieves. They're stealing out of stores and reselling to make a profit. But we also see the people that look to be high and mighty, look to be just, who are supposedly fighting the criminals, are in fact corrupt themselves. And we get to see corporations and billionaires stealing from minorities to make themselves more profitable to the very people that they despise. And I think this film really shows that a lot of the corruption that takes place, the crime and the corruption that takes place, occurs because of the system that has been in place for so long, that has stolen, oppressed, and belittled people for years. And these are the effects of it, and it's still happening. And so the people that we often idolize, that seem to have it all together, likely got that from someone else's labor and back. Not in all cases, but in many of them, somebody is often on the losing side of these major corporations, celebrities, CEOs, CFOs, billionaires, people in power, and things of that nature. I also love the symbolism of the famous designer Demi Moore's character living in a crooked high rise, and that kind of like representing her. She's a crook. Like, she's a crook. That was such one of my favorite details in this film, and such a unique thing for them to do, because it was just, it obviously, it took over the whole scene when Corvette was in Christy Smith's apartment and the floor is slanted. Like, that took over the whole scene. Like, this woman is living a crooked life, but she is making it her mission to call out crooked people. And I'm just like, how does that work? Your whole household is crooked. And I even love that they touched on colorism, specifically with Taylor Page's character, Mariah. Her scene where she's holding her breath to appear lighter skinned because she feels like her proximity to whiteness will make them treat her better. But then she realizes, hey, like, even in certain environments, being light isn't even enough. They still can tell you're black, and that's still gonna scream louder than whatever superiority you think you have because you're lighter than the next black person. And I think that's something that the black community needs to see as well. And I think it was touched on just briefly, but it was such like a good little like kind of Easter egg or a piece of like gum that you can chew on for a minute and get some like real good crumbs out of that, real good messaging out of that. Next thing I wanted to say is also like something that everybody notices even from just watching the trailer, but I want to talk about the bold colors and jarring visuals. And I will say my comment on this is that it made it quite literally feel like art in motion, and this is what lent to this being even more of a masterpiece beyond the depth that it has. It makes it a masterpiece not only in message, but visually. And I think it really, for me, it felt like a moving painting. The bold colors and everything, and even the like weirdness of it all. Like, it was a lot of weird stuff. Like I told y'all, when I first watched it, the first thing that came to mind was like, it was just very bizarre. And I wasn't even talking about like the messaging. It was just the portrayal of certain things. Like Lakeith Stanfield, the sex demon. Like, even like, that was just so much drama. Like, that cartoonization of him was just drama. The cartoonization of the industry plants was just drama. The fashion was just drama. Okay, drama from top to bottom. This movie was just drama. Her living in a chicken spot, drama. But the color grading, and then the color selections of fashion, and then how Christy Smith, Demi Moore's character, Christy Smith, had like her stores like color block, not, yeah, like monochromatic stores and monochromatic themes to just make things stick out more. And even Keke Palmer's character Corvette, her designs, everything was just bold and just out of the box. And honestly, certain scenes in this movie made me uncomfortable, and I couldn't figure out if I liked that or not. When I initially came out the movies, I had to really process this, but after chewing on it for a few days, I like it a lot, and I like that they stepped outside of the box. And I had to give myself I had to give them grace, and I had to give myself grace to adjust to seeing something so different, if that makes sense. Like, I think in this genre of film, we aren't necessarily expecting to be met with these animated moments, these bold colors, and this like just magical kind of world. We're not used to seeing it in, one, black film all the time, and then two, in this genre of film. Like, if we go to a Disney film, we're expecting animation and magic. If we go to a horror movie, we're expecting to be uncomfortable. If we go to a suspense film, we're expected to be uncomfortable and to see something kind of weird, or edge of your seat feeling. But when you go see I Love Boosters, you're not expecting to be met with that. And so I love how they actually broke the barriers here and gave me something that I honestly was not expecting. And I think, lending to the whole art aspect of it all, I love that this movie kind of made me reflect on that, because art is supposed to make you think and move you. A lot of the times that is an artist's intent, and it's something that you're supposed to spend time with. It's not supposed to be a quick digest. A lot of art pieces and masterpieces are products of labor. And for all that to say that seeing I Love Boosters, for me, it was comparable to like visiting an art gallery and seeing a painting with so many like memorable layers and bold aspects that you just can't help but think of it like long after leaving. And as much as I loved it, there were still some things that I'm still questioning. Like, for instance, the resolution of everything at the fashion show, when they used the teleportation devices to like change and dramatize what was going on, accelerate what was going on, and it kind of ended in protest. That threw me off a little bit. Like, I get, okay, the protest aspect, like it accelerated and increased the tension for the situation, but it kind of threw me off how they gave everybody signs and just all of that stuff. Like, it just felt unsmooth, like an unsmooth cleanup or resolution. I don't know what my idea of what they could have done with that, like what would be the result of them accelerating the situation, but that just felt not it to me. Like, yes, movement, and I think that was the overall message, and I love the overall message, so I'm not saying change that. It just felt out of place at that moment, that protests were the result of this teleportation device, if that makes sense, given everything that just occurred before they used that teleportation device. I think protest could have been a part of it, but it just didn't quite seem like a fit. But then again, what in this movie was a fit? Nothing. That's the whole point. But yeah, great messaging. But I also didn't understand certain messaging. For example, like with Lakeith Stanfield, I didn't really get the point of his character. Like, he helped the plot progress in some ways, and he gave us some humor and comedic effect. But like, given the overall point of the storyline and the overall issue at the root of this story. I don't get what he was meant to signal to us. Was it the fact that he was a temptation or a distraction for Corvette? Maybe so. And also, I didn't quite fully understand the shade that was thrown at Target. Like, I get it was shade thrown because of the whole DEI aspect, I'm assuming. But based on his lines, I don't really get what he was trying to say happened to him while he was in Target. Like, I feel like that just went over my head. So if anybody understands that, drop it in the comments, because like I know some context, but I'm not understanding what his point was, you know? But with all that being said, again, make sure you guys check me out on Letterboxd. I am there rating some of the films that I'm seeing. I'm trying to be consistent, but if I really want to build community, especially after seeing this film, it just kind of drove home that message for me. So join me in the Letterboxd community. I want to rate this film a 4 out of 5 flames. It was unique, it was different, it was memorable, and it had a great message, and it really evoked feelings of, you know, discomfort, relatability. You felt understood, I would say, in certain aspects, and it was just a fun watch. I think it was genuinely fun to watch overall, and I love a film that sparks conversation and that's very thought-provoking. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time.